All right, guys, thanks for sticking around for the webinar today, Monday, September 19th, 2016. Another kind of inside day on the futures. Kind of what we've been expecting is just a little bit of sideways action between now and the FOMC meeting on Wednesday. So kind of expecting the more choppy action. And the small caps, I mean, they're kind of on hold today, it seems like. There was a lot of stuff setting up this morning that caught my interest, but ultimately the market ended up rolling over in the mid-afternoon, and it just kind of broke up all these charts. So unfortunately, it ended up being a bit of a slow day for me today. But I think that, you know, like I said, the last week or so I've been trading a lot less size, and on top of that, I've been just making less trades altogether. So I think one thing that I wanted to kind of bring up today and just talk a little bit about in the webinar is just about, you know, sticking to what you're good at in trading, sticking to your niche. And you know, if a stock like SRPT is the only thing that's moving, everything else is just kind of, you know, there's a lot of gainers here, but they're just all kind of dead in volume, and there's not a whole lot of movement in them. So I think a lot of people may have gravitated towards SRPT today, which, you know, it isn't going to be everyone's niche. It's not going to be the kind of stock that everyone is good at trading or is comfortable trading. So you know, there was a few trades today. I'll show you the ones that MGT alerted by Trade Addict today. There was one, you know, there's a good opportunity here for a short. If you missed the initial one, there was a VWAP retest. And, you know, if this is more your niche, is like finding like these small caps that are shortable, then just stick to it, you know, and that means that it may only be 1 or 2 trades in a day for the next few days until FOMC or until things pick back up a little bit. I'm definitely not against, you know, exploring other strategies, but when I'm messing around with something new, or if I'm, you know, kind of experimenting with some new strategies, the most key thing to do is just to be backing the size off a little bit, and then just experimenting small, so you're not really going to get yourself hurt while you're trying new things out. And I mean, with something like SRPT, let's just do a quick technical analysis of this one, because it's a really interesting chart, and I'll show you why. So there was first of all, a really nice run this morning on it. Okay, it's this really nice gap up, and then it kind of trapped shorts early on. Guys, we actually saw this several times recently. This is a play that me and Shane have been paying really close attention to, and it's the VWAP reclaim. This has been happening a lot, especially on higher price stocks. We saw it on, I believe we saw it in AERI, CLCD. It's sort of like a big gap up and then a morning wash, and then wait for a higher low, and then once you notice that VWAP reclaim, see, what I like to see though is a quick retest just to show that it's still holding. In this case, unfortunately, we didn't get that retest, but here's the higher low. Usually you'll see a pop over, and then they'll retest it. And when it holds, you get those shorts trapped, and it can often lead to a really, really nice trade. So on the higher price stuff, this is more or less 5DMY. For those of you that don't know, his name is Shane. He pays a lot close attention to that, and because it's been working well lately. So for, you know, going forward, just if you're paying attention to higher price stocks, $20 plus, if you notice a big gap and then a morning washout, watch for a VWAP reclaim, because it often leads to just a big run from there. The one thing I wanted to mention about SRPT, and this is a tradable pattern for me, although I didn't get a hold of it like JB did, it's when we have like a nice consolidation in the mid-afternoon. So notice that I don't generally trade between 12 and 1:30. I like to just stay away from this whole, and you can see why. I mean, it's pretty clear in this chart that although there was a lot of good movement and momentum in the morning and a lot of nice momentum in the late afternoon, the one thing that we didn't get is any real momentum in the mid-afternoon, and that's the reason why I tend to stay away from it. You know, it's easy to get chopped up in here, and it's easy to get taken advantage of as a retail trader by just, you know, HFTs, algos, and other, you know, institutions and you know, as bigger fish. So I tend to stay away from this type of action right here, but what I do a lot of the time is I'll mark the top of the range, which we did here, and the bottom of the range. And if going into 2 p.m., if I can start to notice some patterns show up, like we're starting to get higher lows and it looks like it wants to break out of this range, well, sometimes I will play that for a long. But typically what I like to see is a break out of the range and then show us that the top of that range that was resistance, I want to see it become support. And this is where this one got a little tricky, because I was watching for that, and it kind of broke right back through again. Then it had trouble getting over, and it kind of just made for a really tricky, and then it looked like it was going to break down, and then it didn't. And then it caught shorts, and it looked like it was going to break out through 54, only for it to totally stop, sorry, 55, only for it to totally stuff and then reverse into the close. So this was by no means an easy chart or an easy trade, but I wanted to point out the mid-afternoon consolidation because I'll often use that as my guide to where I want to go after 2 p.m. So again, I don't like to trade between 12, generally speaking, and 1:30. But I do like to be at my desk by 1:15 so I can start looking for ideas going into 1:45 and 2 p.m. Okay? So if I notice that we're trading in a straight range, I'll have the bottom of the range marked, top of the range marked. And again, what I want to see is just a breakout of that range and then show us that that prior resistance is now support. And then if I can see some consolidation, it's a valid long setup. This is, again, it wasn't a super easy chart, and I think a lot of people did get long on that sort of thesis, but I don't think it was an easy trade at all because first of all, it didn't hold the higher low over 54. It came all the way back down, retested like 65, and then had trouble getting back over, and then it got back over, and then it didn't break out. And I would have actually really liked this right here for a breakout. See how it kind of held a higher low? That's where I would have wanted to see it, right there. But no, it failed again, and it looks like they probably trapped some shorts in there. And then, so again, it was just a super, super tricky chart. I'm glad that I stayed away from it for the most part. I did get a couple of scalps in. I wasn't wildly successful on this stock today. I had a few tries on it. But the main thing is that, especially like when you're thinking of a stock that's $54 a share, the range is huge. So you have to use less size. You have to manage your risk properly with stocks like this. And I think one of the biggest mistakes that amateur traders will make on a stock like this is simply just trying to chase it too much. Instead of having the confidence to buy into the dips, you kind of just want to see it go up first, and then you chase it. But man, let me tell you, chasers got smoked over and over and over again every single time. One more good example of why I tend to not trade the mid-afternoon action: false breakouts. 1 and 2, right? False breakouts, false breakdowns. 1 and 2 right there. So typical between 12 and 1:30. So I don't know about you guys, but for me, this is something I figured out really, really early on in my trading. When I was prop trading my early 20s, I was getting to the point after about a year and a half, where I could pull like a couple $100, $200, $300, $400 out of most mornings, trading the momentum. And then what I found was that if I hung out and ate my lunch at my desk and kept trading, next thing I knew, by mid-afternoon I would have given back a third or a half or sometimes all of those profits, trying to fight market makers. And then eventually I finally had to make a rule for myself, and I said, well, I'm making $200, $300, $400 most mornings in the first 2 hours. So why am I trading between, I back in the prop days we had something like TraderView where it shows where you're most profitable in the day. You could look at your stats, and for me it was the first 2-3 hours of the day I was extremely profitable, and then I was very much not profitable, as negative in this time of day back in 2005, 2006. So like I just took that and I ran with it. I just said, well, I'm going to trade in the mornings the first 2 hours, I'll stay away from the chop, and then I want to play the breakouts late day. So what I would do is I would basically trade morning until about 12 o'clock. I would sometimes play some reversals, so any momentum stocks, usually around 11:30, 12 o'clock. Normally momentum starts to die, volume starts to diminish a little bit, people take profits, and sometimes I'd play faders up until maybe 12:30, but typically between 12:30 and 1:15, I wanted to be away from the desk, refreshing, eating some healthy food, getting some exercise, go for a walk around the office building, whatever it was. I just needed to get away from the screens, and I found that I was much more consistently successful in my trading when I was doing that. So there's been a couple times recently where, or one time that I can specifically remember, where I stuck around all day, traded all day, and I remember being pretty exhausted by end of day, especially where I'm streaming all day as well. So I remember that late day I just kind of had a headache and I wasn't feeling refreshed. I wasn't feeling ready to really attack the close. And then there's been other days where, if you guys watched my most recent not my most recent webinar, but one of our recent webinars on handling big wins and big losses, how to sort of handle the swings. It was one that I sent out in a mailer, and there's a blog post on our website about it. There's days where if I have a tough morning, that that hour break is exactly what I need to get my head back in the game, come back in the end of the day and make that back and end up positive on the day, or turn a losing morning into a flat day, which is like a win. You know what I mean? Like, basically, if you have a horrible morning and then you can get in the right mind space to fight back and find a good trade to end the day and get yourself back to flat, or just small profit on the day, or just a small profit, that's a win. You know, you took a bad situation, you improved it. And so to me, you know, that's a successful trait of someone that, you know, could potentially be a career trader, someone that, you know, can bounce back from a losing day or a losing morning, put it behind them, just focus on the best setups and go forward like that. So going forward this week, guys, I'm expecting tomorrow and Wednesday morning to be probably fairly similar to today. So I'm going to be really focused on just staying patient, looking for just the right setups, stuff like, again, MGT today. I had one trade on Cara, C-A-R-A, and it wasn't a huge trade or anything, but it was just a decent looking setup. Right through here, it was kind of, it put in a huge move here. I mean, I missed the easy trade was through 685, but it came to my attention after it was kind of getting extended. I noticed the nice hold there at 710. We had marked that line as an area to watch. I just went ahead and punched some through 712 and 714. I took a quick trade on it. You know, I'll take that. Why not? So it's just some pretty carefully calculated trades with low risk, and every trade has a plan, every trade has a stop, and just making sure to honor those as much as possible and just try to stay as patient as possible until things pick back up a little bit. Market's been a little shaky since Labor Day. Usually we tend to pick up after Labor Day. It's just been a bit of a unique September so far, in my opinion. And again, look at this chop in the market. I mean, JB's been probably getting a little bored of this back and forth action. I don't know if he's here to comment right now, but I'm guessing the futures trading has been a little bit on the slower side for him, just yo-yoing back and forth, right? No real trend or direction to speak of until, in my opinion, probably until the FOMC. So guys, yeah, I hope that, you know, first of all, that you're holding up well in this market. Use this time when things aren't booming. And again, like, guys, June, July, smoking months. August, a little slower. September, much slower for me. So it's all about, you know, when the market conditions are optimal, I'm attacking full force with two fists, you know, just firing off. But when things are shaky, like, this is one thing that just experience comes to teach you, is that you have to know when to pick your battles. And when market conditions are shaky, I size down, I back off, I protect profits. When it's optimal and things are perfect and like things are ripping, like June and July, you know, I'm both barrels. I'm just firing off trades left and right, you know, as long as the risk reward is there and as long as, you know, the odds are in my favor. So guys, use this time, especially if you're just new to our group today, to review some of the educational material that we provide for free to our group members. There's a lot of, first, I'm just going to go ahead and just recommend some key videos. Right on the members portal, the moving averages lesson, definitely. The learning curve one, definitely. That one's public, but a lot of these ones aren't. The new member startup guide, of course. Tips for account building. That's a really good webinar we did. It's been helpful to a lot of people. It's a good one for a refresher. And then if you dive into the video lesson section of the website, you're going to find a whole lot more good stuff. And I mean, go right back to the beginning. Some of the best webinars we've done are near the bottom. April, you know, in when things were booming. So go back to April, May, June. If you hover your mouse over them, it gives you a little bit of it gives you a preview of what the webinar is going to be about. I'm going to go back and start to organize these a little better at some point, but there is a ton of value in these if you just go through them, and I recommend just doing maybe 2 a night. Don't try to cram too much in, but you're going to find a lot of value in these guys. Go through them all. Trading mentality, handling wins and losses. This is all stuff that's very practical that I find that just doesn't really get talked about enough. You know, like the psychological side of trading. The biggest thing is really the psychological side of trading. You know, we can teach you every setup there is, and you can know every setup, and you can know risk reward scenarios, and you can be fully knowledgeable on how to trade and what to trade and what, when, and why. But if you can't handle your emotions, if you can't pull the trigger when the timing is right, if you can't stop out the trade when you know you should, that's where we want to help you, and that's where we can really help you improve, is getting a hold of the psychological part, understanding it, understanding yourself. And the thing about that I find the most fascinating, and the reason why I spend so much time on that psychological part is because everybody is different. Everybody is a little bit different when it comes to what you can handle, and you learn a lot about yourself as a day trader. You know, you're going to find out what can you handle, what are you comfortable risking, what, you know, do you like to cut off losers really quickly and add to winners, or do you have trouble even holding on to winners? You're cutting off the winners too quickly. There's always something that can be improved upon, and I'm constantly tweaking. I'm constantly watching what I'm doing, and I'm constantly saying, okay, well, you know, here's what I did today, here's what I can do better. I'm never done learning, and I'm never done analyzing my own self and my own mentality when it comes to trading. So just be open to the idea of constantly improving, constantly looking at yourself. You know, and that's another thing. You know, you got to be able to look at yourself and criticize yourself. Now, in a positive way, not in a negative way where you're getting down on yourself for this or that, or, you know, oh, I should have done this better. Don't worry too much about that. Just try to think of it in as a positive way where you can look at it and say, hey, well, you know what? Here's somewhere where I can find a way to improve. And I'm going to do that, and here's how I'm going to do it. And then do what I do, and write a little list, and keep it on your screen, and really, really stick to it. I've helped a lot of guys through a lot of mental issues when it comes to trading and mental blocks, and it's really what we're all about here, guys. It's just helping each other to be the best we can be, and to constantly improve on a daily basis. So, with that said, again, it was a little bit of an inside day again in the market. I think tomorrow we're going to have a little bit more chop. Let's stay patient, try to find our niche setups tomorrow and on Wednesday morning. Hopefully after FOMC we see a little bit more steady action in the market. And yeah, in the meantime, guys, study up on the videos as much as you can. Feel free to ask questions. These daily webinars we run at 3:30 or 4 o'clock, depending if we're busy trading into the close each and every day. And don't be afraid to ask any question. There's no question that's, you know, too new for me. I'm happy to answer any question you have. I'll stay as late as I need to get them all answered. So just private message me anytime during the day or send me an email, and I'll be sure to cover it in the next webinar for you, okay? All right, guys, for tomorrow morning, let's keep an eye on pretty much a lot of these same stocks, but I'm going to be looking for whatever's doing volume in the morning, a few gappers, hopefully, and yeah, I'll probably keep a bit of an eye on SRPT again tomorrow, but I'm hoping more or less to find some more trades, some more easy trades, stuff like MGT, and just, you know, stuff that, like, you just look at it and you go, oh yeah, that's a no-brainer, you know, that's an easy short, and then you just, you know, that's where I make my bank. So, all right, guys, I'm gonna leave you with that for now. Have a great night, and study up some videos. We'll see you guys first thing tomorrow morning. Cheers.